If it is not white and has that pattern and all, it will not. That will not easily shade. It will really start looking dirty after 3 weeks. It will look dirty to very dirty, and it will really shade after 4 weeks. But that is when you wash it, and so that means you get less work to do. You only have literally one shed, one pair of cuffs, one color. No extra cuff bands, no extra color band of the shed, and no extra removable pieces. Everything will be in one go, only one shed to wash, starch and iron. Because already we cannot sheet for the evening wear or morning wear. They have to be, maybe they can have self stripes, even for, at least for the evening wear, but not for morning wear. It should be purely white without any stripes. So for morning wear you cannot sheet at all, but even self stripes of white on white would still show that as much as a plain white. There's enough point really. So you cannot sheet with those two other outfits if you want to look like the normal people back then, what the majority of the upper classes of Britain or even of the whole world was doing. You cannot really do otherwise. So do it like them and cheat for the day wear, have things. You would tell me that yes, they would also wear detachable colors for the day wear and white ones. It looks neater. Yes, but it adds more work for you. They used to give it to laundries if they were upper class, to their own servants. It adds more work to you. Trust me, just get as I explained it. Because anyways, that is taking into consideration the theory where one is too big to have originals, and so they all go with productions that they either make themselves or have people make them for them. So it is an advantage to actually go full upper class way and have everything sorted and not give a damn for a whole month and just not be worried about it. You will not be able to, if it is like a small folded collar, I know what you might think. You might, after 2 weeks when it starts really looking dirty, unfold it, so have that side, but if you do that it breaks the collar. I did it with my detachable collar from back then. It was highly starched, and when it is highly starched it cracks and all, and it damages the fabric so much that your collar will wear out prematurely. So now, yes, when everything is sold, even for the evening shed, you will have, if you listen to me, sold in cuffs and collar. When those wear out, they would wear out before the bosom or even the shed usually, especially if you made a new shed, because they're touching your skin, and so they get more wear, and on top of that they get more salt, so when you wash it you are harder on it with the brush. By the by, when I say scrub it, you have to scrub it with a brush. Get a special cloth brush, a large one and a small one for the colors and all. Having said that, it wears out more quickly, so the easier wear, especially if you see the shed is going to tear apart in maybe a month, you might not care and just turn them into cuff bands and collar bands and just wear it with a detachable collar. That is what I would do. But if you are, especially if you are sewing your own stuff, and you might as well do another, but you have to create it yourself. You have to create all the two other cuffs in one color. Why can you not take a pre-existing detachable one and sew it on? Because it has to be the exact right size for that sleeve and for the collar. And also in such a case, you do not, it takes longer because you have to unpocket every stitch, remove the collar, do the same for each cuff, and then create two cuffs, one collar, and sew them back on. If you live next to a lady and she is okay to do it for you every time she makes your shed, and then every time it's broken you can send it back to her, she does not live far, do that. You will see on the spot. Ideally, if it is a winter shed, which is a rather thicker fabric, it will last 5 to 6 months with the heavy starching, if you wear it for a month before the starching. And for finer fabrics, more like voile for summer, because even if you starch it, you want a more breathable one, they might last 3 months to 4 months max. That's also the reason for which, especially when things are being made, we desire to avoid laundering it too much, because more laundering means more restarching, and even laundering it, especially in boiling water, to remove all the old starch, damages the cloth a lot, as does the ironing. So wear it for a full month. Except for the removable collar and cuffs, for the white ones for the morning and evening, because then they will wear out more quickly, but are removable, and it is less hard to make a new pair of cuffs and a new collar than it is making an entire new shed. Especially if you decide to make your own stuff yourself, or if you pay the tailors I mentioned. If you manage to find somebody for that, but that's really hard, like in Dubai or whatever, and you have to rely on posting and all. It will take time to post the fabric for them, and then for them to post the actual finished garment back to you, and it would cost more shipment fees and VAT fees also. So now about sheds I'm finished. I am done about the shirts. So now, for the garments, I'm not going to the vast majority of options that are. Do it like me. If you go with 3 outfits, I would say if you want to make it accurately, like what the majority of the upper class British persons would do back then, have a formal evening attire. Not the informal one which cannot be worn then for the vast majority of occasions, but we can wear the formal one for all occasions. So have the telecoat one. If you want to go easier, have a black matching waistcoat, or even if it does not match, have it black because it does not require as much laundering. If you want to be die-hard, have a light-colored one. Then for the morning, again, formal morning attire, because in full morning you were meant to wear the formal morning attire in explanation, frock coat all the time. For semi-formal morning, you could wear a bit of colors, a bit of grey and all, but if you go into semi-morning and half-morning and all, it will take too many outfits and too many complications. You do not live back then, so you do not have the options that I have, as explained. So go with one, the basic one, which can also be worn for half-morning, which is the full formal one, ideally cut from the same cloth. Because it is a morning ensemble, so it should be cut from the same cloth, so it is called a frock suit. A morning frock suit, which is the same black cloth for the waistcoat, trousers, coat and trousers, and overcoat if one has one. And if one lives in Europe, you should have an overcoat for the winter months. Oh no, the overcoat can be a different cloth, it could be the same, whatever. And then for the normal day one, ideally get a formal one, so you can also wear it to weddings, or formal if you have a business and formal day, well, if you can wear that as you wear. So, in other words, also a frock coat one. The most formal non-morning day wear would consist of a dark grey frock coat. Dark grey means almost black, like charcoal grey, but under the sunlight it looks different. And dark grey trousers with equal, so the straps have to be equal width. Some are dark grey and some are sort of salt color, like a crew is the precise hue. Like the color of my shirt I was wearing yesterday. To be the more formal trousers, stripes, and made out of flannel. And then the waistcoat, if one is not that formal, would just match the coat. If one wants to be a bit more formal, it would contrast the two pieces by being, for example, medium grey wool with no pattern. And then a white shirt, but I explained the complications of having a white shirt. So you could go with a morning suit, you could go with a lounge suit if you really want to be informal, and so on and so forth. Now, I will not get into the different styles because I will be talking for ages, and that is your problem. And the most important is to really give a realistic picture of what people would have worn then, while having the minimum amount of outfits required. Then the basic importance is to get the morning attire right and the evening attire right. The day wear, you have more liberty. If you want to have an informal one, or if you live in the country and you only want to have a Norfolk jacket, knickerbockers, suit, alright. What would you wear in the city? I do not know, but if you wear one, I'll get that. Now, I will get into the actual procuring of the footwear now, leather shoes. You are very lucky, because thanks to Kirby Allison, I know a man in England, and he's more approachable, both for people like us because he speaks English, because the Japanese do. The only people on earth I know who still make shoes entirely by hand. Why is it an advantage? You will tell me to have machinery back then, yes, but the upper classes will still get entirely handmade. In fact, it will even get to the point of having the man Scott, you would not even have prefabricated shoe forms that he then narrows down to a specific shoe shape. No, he will start with the like full bespoke for clothing, that they will start with a log of wood. Do not forget that people, especially in England or Europe, were still most of those cobblers, they were called cobblers or shoemakers. They will not have that much money, they will still cut off their own wood, and they might use one of those logs, and then for each individual client, for each individual foot, and for each even individual shoe, he would cut it a shoe form out of an individual log. I don't know anybody that does that. I think an Austrian chap who won the first shoe competition, bespoke shoe competition in 2018. He did that for the shoe competition. If you really pay him a lot of money and explain you really want that,